So tonight was the second to last episode of Raw before we reach WrestleMania. It still, to me, literally doesn't feel like we're 2 weeks away from WrestleMania, because usually around this time other years it feels a lot more different. But that's a entirely different conversation. Tonight we're here to talk about Monday Night Raw. My favorite segment of the entire show here tonight was the Seth Rollins Paul Heyman segment that they had at the end of the show tonight that were advertised. Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman, CM Punk, and Paul Heyman came out here at the end of the show to address what happened on Friday night, because obviously Friday night the CM Punk favor was revealed. That CM Punk favor was that CM Punk wants Heyman in his corner at WrestleMania during the triple threat match with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. So Heyman was out here to address the questions that people have that have been asking him, what side he's going to choose, whether he's going to choose his best friend, whether he's going to choose Roman Reigns, the tribal chief. He came out here and he said that he's loyal to Roman Reigns, he's loyal to his best friend CM Punk, and there's not going to be a moment ever where he's disloyal to either men. Seth Rollins came out here and interrupted him, and Seth Rollins here cut a fantastic promo. He literally mentioned every single thing why these two guys, Roman and Punk, are such villains. He mentioned the fact that last year when Paul Heyman was dealing with the Bloodline 2.0 with Solo Sikoa, with Jacob Fatu, and Roman Reigns does what he always does and left Paul Heyman, took a vacation and left Paul Heyman there to deal with the Bloodline 2.0. He left Paul Heyman in the hands of Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu, and obviously we saw how that went. They put him through a table at Madison Square Garden, and he mentioned CM Punk. He said that CM Punk was the last option for Survivor Series at War Games. He said the first option was Seth Rollins. He was the first option. He was literally asked by Sami Zayn a handful of times before they ever went to CM Punk. And he mentioned how CM Punk was the last person, and CM Punk only agreed to help Roman Reigns, to help Paul Heyman, because he would get something in return. Not because he's such a good friend of Paul Heyman, not because he cares about Roman Reigns, only simply because he wants something in return. He's thinking about himself and he's selfish. That's what Seth Rollins said. He said that, the easiest way to deal with this for Heyman is to take himself completely out of the equation. He essentially told Heyman that he was going to curb stomp him so that Paul Heyman could forget about this whole ordeal, and that these three guys could deal with what they want to deal with, their issues at WrestleMania, by themselves, rather than Heyman being there as well. And he starts to corner Paul Heyman in the corner when all of a sudden you see CM Punk come out. CM Punk comes out here, tries to make the save. Eventually he's going to stomp Rollins in the steel steps, but Rollins gets out of it. Eventually Rollins stomps CM Punk, and it looks like he's going to stomp Heyman, and actually does go to stomp him, but ends up kind of retreating, and he says, "Now you owe me a favor." So what I interpreted this was, Seth Rollins could have easily stomped Heyman if he wanted to, but he chose not to, making Heyman now forcibly owe him a favor. Now, definitely going into this match, I already kind of figured Seth was the favorite to win, because obviously Punk and Roman, they're going to cancel each other out. He's super occupied with who he's going to help, and Rollins is just going to come in and the opportunist is going to take advantage and get the win. But now it really goes to show, now what does Heyman do? Because Heyman could easily not help either Punk or Roman, or the scenario I've seen people toss around is that maybe Heyman ends up aligning with Seth Rollins. Do I see that happening? I don't know. I definitely see Rollins winning, however, at WrestleMania 41. First, I would put Rollins and Punk, then Roman. But now after this segment, you gotta take into equation whether or not Heyman actually aligns with Rollins at WrestleMania 41. So like I said, my favorite segment of the entire show. We also got some WrestleMania matches announced here. Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, and Bianca Belair is official. They had a contract signing here tonight. Really just, trying to get it out of the way. Essentially, everybody knows that this match is going to happen, so we had a contract signing here tonight. We also had a IC title match announced for WrestleMania, a fatal four-way between Braun Breaker, Penta, Dominic Mysterio, and Finn Balor. In the back, there's obviously some tension between Balor and Dominic. Later on, Dominic has a match against Penta. Penta ends up winning that match. Eventually, Carlito goes in there, tries to attack Penta, then Braun Breaker comes out for the save. Braun Breaker takes out everyone. Then Finn Balor comes out there and takes out Braun Breaker. So, as it stands right now, a current favorite to win that championship is Penta. Although, don't necessarily rule out a Dominic win because, for months and for months, Finn Balor has been treating Dominic like a piece of trash, right? He's literally like talking down to him. And what an upset it would be if Dominic ends up winning the IC title. Because eventually, Dominic is going to win singles gold. It just depends when he's going to win it. And lastly, the last thing I want to mention here was Jey Uso and Gunther, because Gunther was out there and he was dressed kind of, I saw a comment referring to this as he was dressed as SpongeBob. But I guess the backstory to this was what happened last week. He was wearing a red tie symbolizing the blood from Jimmy Uso from last week. Jey Uso came out here, however, and was super serious. He cut a serious promo. The only kind of drawback to this promo that I would say was the crowd was obviously trying to yeet with him, but this was like a no yeet moment, but obviously the crowd was still trying to yeet with him. But Jay cut the promo of his life here, and essentially going forward, this is what he had to cut. He cut a promo here tonight telling Gunther has he spoke to his mom within the last week, because Jey Uso spoke to his mom this past week, and his mom told him, why didn't you take care of Joshua? Obviously Jimmy Uso, his real name. And Jey Uso said, I can't lie to my mom. I never lied to my mom. I'm not going to start now. He said, the reason I didn't take care of him was because I was afraid of Gunther. But he said after last week, something sparked in him. Something changed in him. Now he's pissed off. Now he's angry. Now he isn't afraid of Gunther. He said at WrestleMania, I pray that God forgives me for what I'm about to do to you at WrestleMania. Like I said, when Jey Uso is serious, he's great. He needs to come out there every single week with a bone to pick. And especially now that we're so close to WrestleMania, there's only 1 week left. Now is go time for Jey Uso and Gunther. My favorite segment of the night was that Seth, Punk, and Heyman promo. It really kind of makes you wonder where they're going to go for WrestleMania, whether or not Heyman actually ends up aligning with Seth at WrestleMania 41. So let me know what you guys think down below. Let me know your thoughts about Raw here tonight. And until next time, take care. I will see y'all later.